Hey guys, welcome back to another review, and today we're going to take a look at a really interesting product. This is the CCA CX10. So this is the first 10 driver system that I have seen in a real TWS compact form factor. So really interesting how they were able to fit 10 drivers per side in this one and build the battery be good. So let's take a look at the specs first. So this Bluetooth 5.0, which is something that you want to see in 2020. You have 5 drivers per side in a hybrid configuration, so dynamic driver at the bottom. You have 4 BAs per side. Touch controls in this one also, so no buttons whatsoever, so minimalist in terms of the overall design. Also AAC lossless support, so for iOS users, you would want that for sure. High performance mode as well. So this one doesn't have haptics, so that's a bit unfortunate, especially for those using Android. But AAC may still work, but of course, if you're using Android, you would want haptics support. The case is also 30 plus hours in battery, and also each lobe is around 3 hours in my testing. So overall, the spec is really good in this one. Really surprising that you were able to see, high performance mode in a 10 driver. Connection wise, this is very stable. I did use this outside with some Wi-Fi going on and didn't encounter any disconnection, and that's nice. Definitely the Bluetooth 5.0 helped out in this one. The fit in this one is also really stable on the ear. So in terms of design, this does have some fins, which is something that I really like. So even if you're doing some extraneous activities, biking and even some, light running, this will stay on your ear, which is nice. And also I do like the custom IEM kind of design in this one, especially if you're coming from, non-audiophile kind of brands. You'll be really surprised how good the fit is on the ear, because it does have some contours, which makes this fit better on your ear, and which also contributes to isolation. So the isolation is good in this one. I would say better than some of your maybe Halos of the world. It's a build quality. This falls right smack with your KZZ1. This is very much the same. So you have all plastic kind of design, a matte in finish also. It does have some magnets on the case, and also opening and closing does feel good. It's a bit weighty in the hand, which is cool. This is not the best in build that I have seen, but definitely not bad overall, especially for the price that you are paying for. Just one minor gripe in this one is this still has some micro USB. So for 2020, I do want to see everything in USB-C. In terms of the lobes, I do like the all black kind of design. You have the big CCA logo at the side, which does resemble your CA16. And also it's made of glossy plastic overall. The lobes is not that heavy, definitely in the lighter side. So really impressive how they were able to fit 5 drivers per side and not being super heavy in the ear. So they might have used smaller BA drivers in this one. And for me, in terms of the overall look, I do like the look overall. Very wearable in the ears. This doesn't feel funky at all. In terms of pairing, I didn't encounter any issues with this one. I did pair it with my iPhone and also Android, and also I did pair it with my Windows device, and I didn't encounter any issues with pairing with different devices. So going back to high performance mode, so this is not the best high performance mode that I have seen. So for me, the Halo GT1 Pro still has better latency, but this is not that bad. This is just barely noticeable, especially when watching YouTube, movies, and also gaming. So if you're gonna do some casual gaming, I would say this is not a big issue overall. The high performance mode definitely works in this one. Before we move to the sounds, overall in terms of specs, this is well spec'd for me. I have no issues with the overall build quality and also the features in this one. It has some high performance mode, which is nice. Bluetooth 5.0, really stable on the ear, and also the build quality, I would say, is very much worth the money. But let's move to the sound. So sound wise, this is definitely a hybrid kind of sound. You have that kind of smoothness at the bottom and some cleanliness at the top. So the bass here is not that prominent in the mix. This is more of a clarity focused headphone. This is not your bass headphone. So firstly, this is a very KZ type of sound, which means that it also has some cons of being a KZ type of sound, which is what we're gonna talk about. So signature wise is definitely a V shape through and through, with some elevation at the top, so slightly more bright at the top. This is not a super bassy IEM in any means, but still this is a fun kind of listen because of that V kind of signature. But personally for me, one con in this one is this can be a bit peaky at the top, a bit too bright at the top. So definitely this brighter compared to your KZ-S2. So frankly, not super impressed with the signature in this one overall. Tonality also is not the best in this one. It's a bit metallic for me in terms of the overall tonality, so not the most natural that I have listened to. So the highs are super extended at the top. It has some shimmer at the top, but this might be even a bit too aggressive to listen to for some people. For me, it's just nearly piercing, it's nearly sibilant, so I'm not that treble sensitive, so it's okay for me. It's kind of tolerable, but for some people, you might find this a bit hot. But because of that extension at the top, it makes it more exciting to listen to. Also nicely detailed at the top. This is one of the strengths of the CX10. The detail is really good in this one. Also quite fast in resolving some micro details. However, major con again in this one is it does have some peak at the top. It's a bit too prominent in the mix for me, so some instruments may come across as thin or unnatural to listen to, like an Erotomania Dream Theater. So the cymbals is super thin and lacking some body for me. I'm not a big fan of the top in this one, so frankly I do prefer the highs in the S2 over this one. So the mids are nicely detailed again, very lively and nicely layered also, with some micro detail again. So one of the strengths of the CX10. The vocals, while not bad, are a bit too thin for my liking, a bit too recessed for my liking. So not the perfect mids again for me. But the mids in this one are not bad because it does resolve some micro details. So for guitar tracks especially, like in Surfing with the Alien Josa Triani, the distortion and the overdrive micro detail is resolved nicely. However, another issue again is the tonality is not the best in this one. So some instruments might sound a bit unnatural. So this gets higher marks compared to the highs because it's a bit better in terms of the overall presentation. But not my favorite mids still in this one. So the bass is in the boomy side, which gives it a bit more smoothness in the mix. This is not overly bassy though, so again, this is not for bass heads. In the mix, it's actually quite reserved. But what's good here is it's not overpowering the rest of the spectrum. So you can get to hear good separation in the CX10. You can get to hear the other instruments nicely with this one. So the bass, sure, it adds a bit of fun being a dynamic driver, but overall, this still kind of reserved in the mix. Soundstage is just okay in this one, not the biggest stage that I have heard. Imaging is also just average, not the best imaging that I have heard, so I wouldn't use this for any mixing. Separation actually is pretty good in this one because of that kind of reserved bass, and also pretty clean in the overall presentation. So separation is one of the strengths of the CX10. So detail wise also is one of the strengths in this one. So definitely for the $50 range, this is one of the better detailed pairs that you can get. Having that Chen drivers really helped out in resolving some details and also some micro detail as well. So this resolves detail really fast. So definitely one of the strengths of the CX10. So for under $50, if you're looking for the most detailed TWS, this definitely should be in your short list. So compared to other TWS, compared to the KZ-S2, the S2 is a bit more warmish, smoother in the overall presentation, less peaky but less detailed in the KZ-S2. Also a bit less aggressive in the S2 to listen to, but the S2 also has a bit more natural vocals. So I do like the tonality of the vocals more compared to the CX10. The CX10 in comparison is more detailed, faster in response, more micro details, a tad less bassy also in the CX10, more analytical sounding overall. The bass impact is also less pronounced in the CX10, so the CX10 definitely is more bright in terms of the overall presentation in the ear. So frankly, for me, this toss up, it'll depend on your preference. The CX10 is more of a monitor type of listen on the ear. The KZ-S2 is a more fun, more warmish kind of sound. So if you like more details, more micro detail, you might want the CX10. If you want a smoother sound, a more warmish in the ear, you might like the KZ-S2. So compared to the KZ-E10, our old 10 driver brother, so the E10 is less bright on the ear, less peaky also, sweeter highs in the E10. The E10 is also a bit smoother in terms of the overall presentation. The vocals are better for me in the E10, a bit more natural to listen to. The CX10 in comparison is more edgy, especially on top, a bit more peaky on top, more clean in the CX10 also. But the vocals are more recessed in the CX10, also thinner sounding overall in the CX10. Actually, both are cool. They have some strengths and weaknesses, some pros and cons. But for me, I do prefer the E10 still in terms of the just thinking about the sound. So unfortunate that it has some manufacturing issues, but I do like the E10 more overall than the CX10. Alright, so verdict. So this is kind of a long review, but the CX10 has definitely its pros and cons. So firstly, in terms of the specs, no issues whatsoever. Bluetooth 5.0, high performance mode for a 10 driver system, and also nice build overall. The battery, no issue, and also the connection, no issue. So in terms of the specs, definitely for $50 and a 10 driver system. This is really impressive over. Also for me, that alone might be a unique selling point for some people. So in terms of sound, it's just, I would say, okay. It didn't really blow me away. But what's cool in this one for a lot of people is this has 10 drivers per side. For some people, especially for those looking for a TWS under $50, that's already a unique selling point, having 10 drivers in this small form factor. Sound is not the best, but definitely it's usable in this one. So for me, for $50, this is still well worth the money, well worth the price that you're paying for. Because 10 drivers, this in the same price as maybe your CCA C12s, your other 10 drivers wired counterparts, KZS10 Pro also, and your KZSXs. So it's falls in the same price range as your wired counterparts, but it is fully wireless. So that's a unique selling point by itself. For the price, I would say this is still well worth the price that you are paying for. And again, I do like to make a disclaimer. So this was given to me by Linsol Audio, and their product is still in Kickstarter right now. I'm not sure if there's gonna be some changes. So if you get a copy, you might have a different sound. I'm not 100% sure. And also, again, if you're gonna order from Indiegogo, make sure you contact the manufacturer. Make sure that maybe they have a return policy or something like that, because you might encounter some issues in this one, some unforeseen issues, because it's still a Kickstarter product. For me, frankly, I do want to wait for the retail version just to be sure on the product that I'm gonna get. But that's my review, that's my take on the CX10. Of course, if you learned something, leave a like and subscribe for more content like this in the future. And yes, if you want to support the channel, you can buy my new EP down in the comments below in Bandcamp. And if you cannot buy, you can just listen to my Spotify account. All my songs are there as well. And also subscribe in my new YouTube channel, IMZ Music. And I'm gonna see you guys in the next zpolt review. Goodbye.